So this was a video that I made a while back for DFE, but since I've switched phones and things because my phone was pretty much on its last legs, had no space and memory to convert videos and things, so yeah, let's get into it.
In this episode, we're going to look at reference frames and fictitious forces because I've been noticing a lot in my little debates that are going on in the comments under each of these videos, and they keep bringing up this idea that gravity isn't real, centrifugal force isn't real, it's a fictitious force, it's an inertial force, if you look at an inertial reference frame, the force isn't there, etc., etc. So I kind of just got tired of this argument coming from many different flat earthers.
To DFE, I didn't say it requires someone watching from both frames. You say someone outside the Earth's non-inertial frame in an inertial frame would see the object follow a straight line. But in a reply to TB, you put again, I am emphasising, in our inertial reference frame here on Earth. Make up your mind, is the Earth inertial or a non-inertial frame? You kept saying it was an inertial frame the other day too. You also said to him deflections are due to accelerations and accelerations are due to forces in our reference frame. Well, there goes gravity again, because it's not a force, yet there's acceleration. You've got your model all twisted. In your model, Earth is a non-inertial frame. Coriolis is an apparent deflection, not caused by a force, but caused by the Earth rotating. This is a non-inertial frame. And an object travelling in a straight line, not attached to the Earth, inertial frame. In physics, the Coriolis force is an inertial or fictitious force that acts on objects in motion within a frame of reference that rotates with respect to an inertial frame. What you are saying to TB is incorrect. It is not a real force. There is no force acting on the object. From Wikipedia. In physics, the Coriolis force is an inertial or fictitious force that acts on objects in motion within a frame of reference that rotates with respect to an inertial frame. So exactly what I just said to him. It appears to deflect because you are in a non-inertial frame. Because you are in a non-inertial frame is why there appears to be a force. When non-inertial frames are used, fictitious forces, such as the Coriolis force, must be invented to explain the curved path. There is no identifiable physical source for these fictitious forces. In an inertial frame, inertia explains the path, and no force is found to be without an identifiable source. Either view allows us to describe nature, but a view in an inertial frame is the simplest and truest, in the sense that all forces have real origins and explanations. The rotation of tropical cyclones and the path of a ball on a merry-go-round can just as well be explained by inertia and the rotation of the system underneath. When non-inertial frames are used, fictitious forces, such as the Coriolis force, must be invented to explain the curved path. There is no identifiable physical source for these fictitious forces. In an inertial frame, inertia explains the path, and no force is found to be without an identifiable source. Either view allows us to describe nature, but a view in an inertial frame is the simplest and truest, in the sense that all forces have real origins and explanations. So now he says, you can talk about it from both frames. In our frame, it is a force. You clearly do not understand physics. Anything that creates acceleration has a force behind it, F equals ma. Yeah, I've only been telling people that for about 2 years. That anything that accelerates has a force behind it, because of F equals ma. At least we agree on something. And this has an acceleration in our frame. In the other frame, it does not, just as the analogy of the centrifuge machine. You watch someone spin around and in your frame you feel no force, but in the rotating frame you do, so much so that it can render you unconscious. Again, I used to teach this, and you are simply incorrect. The force can be measured. It is like saying someone hits you in the face, it is not real because someone in a different frame does not feel it. No, it's more like saying if you have an object travelling in a straight line in an inertial frame, and then you have it aiming to somebody, so let's say it's going to hit somebody in the face. Right? It's aiming to hit somebody in the face, going in a straight line. But that person is in a non-inertial frame. Let's say that person is on a merry-go-round. Now, because that merry-go-round is rotating, the object that's travelling in the inertial frame, that's travelling in a straight line, that's aiming to hit somebody in the face, now no longer hits that person in the face, and now hits a different person in the face, because the merry-go-round is rotating. Therefore, the person that it was aiming for now has basically moved because of the non-inertial frame, and now it hits somebody else in the face. That's what it's saying. There was no force that deflected the object from aiming from one person and then hitting the other person. Instead, the merry-go-round, being a non-inertial frame, was rotating, and therefore the person moved, and now it hit somebody else in the face instead of hitting that person in the face. It appeared that the object was aiming for the one person, but there appears to be a deflection because now it hit a different person, because the merry-go-round rotated, because it's a non-inertial frame. Thus, the deflection appeared, and instead of it hitting the person it was aiming for, it now hit somebody else. There was no actual deflection of the object, there was no force on the object. The only thing that there was the merry-go-round rotating the non-inertial frame, and therefore, because of that, it then hit somebody else in the face, because it's an apparent deflection. No force actually acted on the object.
Now remember, the ball will be thrown straight across the spinning merry-go-round. Right, in your own time, throw the ball.
I got this. Oh!
Our camera angles seem to show the ball bend in the air. So is that a camera effect, or are we seeing what they saw? Hang on, this couldn't get much more simple. The idea was just to throw the ball straight to Victor to show us his amazing catching skills.
That's right.
Yeah, it did. It just curved right over this way.
So let me get this straight. So somehow you threw the ball, it left your hands, and then what?
And then it just got sucked over to him.
In the air?
Yeah, I threw a perfect throw.
What did you see?
Yeah, curved right in.
Right, so we're all agreeing here the ball curved in midair.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and do you know why it did that?
No.
Nope.
No idea.
It's called the Coriolis effect. And it's very simple. It's objects in motion appearing to be, it's an optical illusion, appearing to be deflected off their intended course. So you throw the ball straight, it's still going straight, but the table is moving below you, and all of a sudden, look who's in front of that straight moving ball, and it looks like it's bent off to the right because you're still looking at the guy you were intending to throw it to, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Coriolis effect.
So the things that I am quoting are offline, and apparently I'm wrong and have no physics training. I guess you better go and correct all those like looming courses and things that are on Wikipedia. Go and correct them, Ben, because clearly they are wrong and they have no physics training, right? And you are correct, right? Because you think that they are my words, you think that you can just say I'm wrong. Thing is, they aren't my words, they're quotes, mate. So I'm not the one that's wrong, am I? You're calling looming courses wrong. You're calling Wikipedia wrong. Not me, mate. This is the thing, when people think they're your words, they just say you're wrong. Because they can just say, well, what training do you have? I'm this, I'm that. What are you? You know what I mean? Just the classic you don't understand response. You can just say we're wrong and people will believe you, right? Because you're meant to be, you know, a man of physics. You know, you're meant to have the qualifications and things, right? So people are more likely to believe you over me, right? And people like me. Even though these are not even my words that you are disagreeing with. They're quotes, mate. You say to TB, a deflection is due to acceleration, and acceleration are due to forces in our reference frame. This is known measurable fact. We use these forces in science and engineering. Again, I am emphasising in our inertial frame, here on Earth, it is a real force. Earth's not an inertial frame, is it? I thought your Earth was a non-inertial frame, being that it rotates. Do you even know the difference between inertial and non-inertial frames, mate? What do taking off in a jet airplane, turning a corner in a car, riding a merry-go-round, and the circular motion of a tropical cyclone have in common? Each exhibits fictitious forces, unreal forces that arise from motion and may seem real because the observer's frame of reference is accelerating or rotating. When taking off in a jet, most people would agree it feels as if you're being pushed backwards into the seat as the airplane accelerates down the runway. Yet a physicist, aren't you one of those? Yet a physicist would say that you tend to remain stationary while the seat pushes you forward and there is no real force backwards on you. An even more common experience occurs when you take a tight curve in your car, say to the right. You feel as if you are thrown, that is force, towards the left, relative to the car. Again, a physicist would say that you are going in a straight line, but the car moves to the right and there is no real force on you to the left. Recall Newton's first law.
Now, I did get Rachel's permission to share her post here. So the Coriolis, I mean, it is an apparent force. It is a fictitious force, a pseudo force, or an inertial force. Centrifugal force isn't real. It's a fictitious force. It's an inertial force. If you look at an inertial reference frame, the force isn't there, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of just got tired of this argument coming from many different flat earthers. So the Coriolis, I mean, it is an apparent force. It is a fictitious force, a pseudo force, or an inertial force. Centrifugal force isn't real. It's a fictitious force. It's an inertial force. If you look at an inertial reference frame, the force isn't there, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of just got tired of this argument coming from many different flat earthers. So the Coriolis, I mean, it is an apparent force. It is a fictitious force, a pseudo force, or an inertial force. Oh my God! I prefer the word inertial force because it's not fictitious in the reference frame that you're in.
When non-inertial frames are used, fictitious forces, such as the Coriolis force, must be invented to explain the curved path.
It's a very real force. So you can see the little red X's here. She says this is not a real force. There is no force acting on the object. Well, that's just demonstrably false. Within the inertial reference frame you're in.
Do you mean within the non-inertial reference frame we're in? Because you keep saying the Earth's inertial and then you keep switching it up and saying it's non-inertial. It's either inertial or it's non-inertial. But you keep switching it up.
Now here's the key. We're here on Earth, and so if we're like flying a plane or firing a ballistic, we don't care what someone out in space sees in their inertial frame. We need to know what these forces are here in our non-inertial frame on Earth, and they are very real forces because they create changes of an acceleration. They deflect the bullets, they deflect the plane. They don't create a deflection, they do not create an acceleration. That's the whole point. It's the reference frame that does it. There's no force acting on the object. Because you're using a non-inertial frame is why there appears to be a force acting on it, but there is actually no force acting on it. It's apparent, it just looks that way. No force actually acts on the object, it travels in a straight line. Nothing deflects the object, nothing accelerates the object does not accelerate, the object does not actually deflect. It only appears to do so from the non-inertial frame. Hence why it's a fictitious force, because no force is actually acting on the object. That object actually goes in a straight line, but to you in the non-inertial frame, it appears to deviate, it appears to deflect, but there is no real deflection or deviation or acceleration or anything like that on the object. It is literally an appearance, an apparent deflection because of the non-inertial frame that you are in.